Hello and welcome everyone to today's workshop on building powerful and secure REST APIs for your Oracle Autonomous Database. Thank you for joining us. My name is Tara Van Cleve and I am a marketing event manager for the developer initiative here at Oracle. Today, we're excited to get hands-on, create a new Oracle Autonomous Database, and load a table based on simple CSV file. If you do not currently have an Oracle Cloud account, you can head to bit.ly/freetier0622 for today's date to get signed up. You'll have extra credits for the workshop so that you can try out the services and follow along with the lab steps. We'll be going over how to get started in just a minute. We'll also be recording the session, so if you'd like to complete the lab later on at your own pace, we'll be sending that link to the recording via email shortly after the workshop concludes. If you have any questions during the workshop today, we've set up a channel in our developer public Slack called Workshop REST APIs for ADB that you can access at the QR code or at bit.ly/odevrel_Slack. Once you're in, you'll land in the general channel, and from there you can search for the workshop channel. But we will also be checking the Zoom chat and the Zoom Q&A areas throughout, and we'll open up for live Q&A at the end. Today's workshop will be presented by Chris Hoina, Senior Product Manager, Jeff Smith, Distinguished Product Manager, and Zachary Talk, Senior Product Manager. You can access the lab guide by following this link here, and I will drop that in the chat in just a moment. And before I turn it over to Chris, we'll begin with a short clip presented by Victor Martin on how to set up your cloud account.
Hi, I'm Victor Martin from Oracle Cloud. I'm going to walk you through the steps to sign up for an Oracle Cloud free tier. Please follow along and pause the video when you need it. Oracle Cloud free tier gives you a set of always free cloud services. These services will be available forever. 2 autonomous databases, 2 virtual machines, up to 4 ARM processors virtual machines. You will also have a load balancer, block, object, and archive storage, monitoring, and much more. As part of your Oracle Cloud free tier, you will also have a 30-day trial with free credits to use in other services from analytics to Kubernetes. Sounds good, isn't it? Are you signing up for an upcoming workshop with us? Please make sure that you use the same email you use for the registration, as we have activated a special offer and you won't need your credit card to sign up. In any case, Oracle Cloud is not going to charge you for your trial. You actually have to explicitly tell us so when you are happy with all the Oracle Cloud services after your trial. Let's dive in. You need to add your country, then your first and last name. You also have to provide your email. Oracle Cloud has to check you are a human by asking you to resolve an easy challenge. Finally, click Verify my email to move to the next step. If your email has been activated for the offer, you will see the special Oracle offer pop-up window with the type of offer already selected. Then click Select Offer. All the initial information is already in. Now you have to provide a strong password. I use a generated one, but you can select any you like. Just make sure you are in compliance with the strong password pattern. Confirm the password by typing it again. Fill the company name if apply. The cloud account name is essential as it is a unique identifier for your account. Select a name you like that is not taken. The home region is the region where you are more likely to deploy resources. You can deploy to other regions by subscribing to them. However, your free trial only supports one region. Select a region geographically close to you if you are not sure. I'm selecting Frankfurt region. At the bottom, click Continue. Fill the address information with city, postcode, county, and your phone number. Click Continue. The final step is to accept the agreement and click Start my free trial. Oracle Cloud starts provisioning your account. This takes on average 1 minute or 2. Then you are going to be redirected to the Oracle Cloud web console. Can you see the message "Your account is currently being set up"? It means that some services will still be unavailable for a few more minutes. Just keep it in mind. When Oracle Cloud fully provisions your account, you will receive an email. I will show you that in a few seconds. Go to the menu to explore Oracle Cloud Services. Also, the search bar is a friendly tool as you can search for compute instances, Kubernetes engine, analytics services, cost tools, user management, autonomous databases, Apex instances, and much more. On the right side, you will see the region you selected when you sign up. The next icon is Cloud Shell, a small free Linux instance with several tools pre-installed and configured like OCI CLI and languages like Java, Node, Python, and more. You can close Cloud Shell now, confirm with exit. The next one is announcements for updates from Oracle Cloud. The following is the help icon, where you can find documentation links, chat with us, post questions in our forums, and finally, create a support request and request a limit increase. The next icon is to change the language, and the final one is the profile icon, where you can see your user information, your tenancy, and the sign out button. After a while, the message saying that your account is being set up will disappear. After a few minutes, you will also receive a Getting Started email and another one when your trial account is fully provisioned. Use the button in the email to sign in whenever you want in the future. You are all set up to enjoy your new Oracle Cloud account. Happy hacking!
All right, and with that, I will hand it over to Chris.
Thanks, Tara. This is our team. You can see the resemblance in the photos that I've carefully curated here. I'm Chris Hoyne. I'm a senior product manager, and Jeff Smith. You probably, if you've done anything with Oracle database, then you already know of Jeff. And then Zach is on the call with us as well. So those are our social media handles. I think they are broadly applicable to pretty much anything online. At least that is for me. And we don't have a poll for this, but if you're new to REST, or if you're new to the Oracle REST APIs, I will just do like a crash course of this slide. There's probably 5 or 6 slides here, but I will abbreviate this. So we're going to be working with Oracle REST APIs. So let me pick a good one here. Here's a good one right here. So it's kind of jumbled, but essentially what we want to do is, you can see the create, read, update, and delete in the center of the slide here. That's pretty traditional. That's the common jargon in database. But when it applies to like web applications or anything over HTTP, we're looking at put, get, post, and delete. So what basically ORDS does is it maps these create, read, update, delete functions to these HTTP methods or operations. And it allows us to be able to interact with these resources or data, tables, views, procedures, whatever, that we can REST enable to access those over HTTP. So when you request something from the database, you're not taking it physically out of the database. You're requesting a representation of that thing, of that resource, of that data that's on that database. So that's like the crash course. That's actually only one piece of ORDS. ORDS is like a whole bunch of stuff. But the way that we're going to interact with it today is we'll create some tables. We'll load those tables with some CSV data. We'll do some REST enablement, so that way we can hit it as if it was like its own web page. Basically, we'll be given a URI or a URL, and we can actually take a look at the information that's coming back, and it'll be presented in JSON, which is like ubiquitous across the web now. And that's what a lot of our applications are expecting now, is everything in JSON objects. Lab 1 and Lab 2 are pretty generic. Okay. I have a cloud account that's already up. I can just kind of really quickly walk through, like, let's say, for instance, you actually have your OCI, to create that database. I'm on an always free tenancy, and I have this single database. And basically what I'm about to show you here is what Labs 1 and Labs 2 are going to show you. So click on the create the autonomous database. You can change the display name and the database name to whatever it is that you want. I'm actually not going to create this. I'm just going to leave it as is. For today, we'll just keep it as data warehouse. A lot of the stuff, because it's the always free, you can't change. So it's going to be serverless. We want to make sure that the always free is enabled. Do we default to 21C? Okay, so defaults to 19C. I can't ever remember, but this stuff down here, you're not going to change either. Now, for the password, just remember this because you're going to use this password for a lot of different things. So I would like write it down somewhere. You'll keep it as admin, and then keep the TLS authentication checked as is. Put in whatever your ID is, your work email, whatever, a personal email, and then create your autonomous database. And then it'll start to provision and start it up. And that'll take a few minutes. But if you want to follow along, that's fine. Or if you just want to watch as we're doing this, that's fine also. Now for this database here, I could click on database actions and it would take me to this SQL worksheet or the database actions launchpad. But I have created a separate user, which is here. You can see in this URI, I've created this June 2023 user. So that's what we're going to be using. That's what I'll be using for the lab. Let me make sure that it's still like signed in here. Yeah. All right. So this is clean. So basically, I'm just like setting the stage. We're at the point now where we've like created this database. It's already been provisioned. We've created this user, like as the admin, I've created this user. You could also just use the admin for this if you wanted to. But I'm trying to keep it as like real as possible. And now we're kind of like we're back at lab 3. So for lab 3, this is just a summarization of what we're going to be seeing, what we'll do in this lab. So we'll create a table. We have like a CSV that has 3 columns. It's got like 10 or 12 rows in it, just really something simple. We'll do that through the SQL worksheet. We'll take a look at all the available curl commands. And then we'll take one of those curl commands, the get all, the get all endpoint, and we'll plug that into our browser. Excuse me. We'll plug that into our browser and we'll take a look at the JSON that comes back. Okay. So this is where we are. We're at lab 3, the workshop. Now, when you're doing these workshops, if you want, I find it easier to just expand all, so you can kind of see everything. But let me just scroll through here. So we're at the SQL worksheet. So this has changed a little bit. We actually have a few different ways that we can load data once we're in the SQL worksheet. So let me go back to the launch pad. So we're here at the launch pad when you first sign in.
7 or 8 ways.
Yeah, there's
like 19 ways.
There's as the admin under, I think it's under administration, I can data load, but I'm as this user here. I can go to SQL here. Yeah, that's a gross oversimplification because once you have an endpoint, that's another way that you can load data. SQL CL. Anyway, all right. So that's how I got to the SQL worksheet. Now I can click this button, this data load button here to load data. I'm gonna move this thing out of the way here. I can load data through here, but I'll just do this here. Okay. If you're in the lab, the CSV is hidden here somewhere. It's right here. That's our CSV. So I'm going to download that and I'll open it. I should clarify something. So if you guys take a look at this URI or this URL up here, you can tell that this is coming from my cloud account, right? As this user. I also separately have a Podman container running. So you can see it's localhost, but it's the same thing. Just if we have time, we can kind of play around with some of the stuff in Podman and some of the stuff in cloud. In this presentation that I have, I've included links for some of the different blogs and videos that I've done that do a lot of this with Podman. So if you're interested and you want to kind of start getting into that, you'll have those resources. But let me just go back. So we'll add this file here. It's in my downloads, and I could also just drop it in here, and we want to go to settings. Right. So it's very small. I'm just looking at everything. Everything looks good. Yeah. Going over to next. I do need to change this to varchar 4000. So I'll just pause there for a second because I'm kind of speeding through this while we're waiting. Make sure that your table table name is CSV data. You could name it whatever you want, but in the workshop here, that's what we call it. So to make it easy for you to scan the document, you just keep it the same. And then I'm happy with that. So I could either, to execute this or to execute the underlying code to create this, I could either click this upload file button here, or I could go back to all files and I can click this little green button up here, the run all. But since I'm in it already, this is kind of what it'll look like. So I'll just upload file. This should take like 5 seconds because it's very small. So I've created my table. This little refresh button here in my navigator tab or navigator window, I will want to refresh that. Because I didn't delete the table that I created like 10 minutes ago properly. Jeff, maybe you can explain this better, but it's basically picking up when I rest enabled that table 10 minutes ago, probably because of my atrocious SQL that I used, but I'll disable it. So this is actually what it'll look like. So like if you're doing this at home or at work or in the car, wherever you are,
don't pull over, don't drive and do this.
On your phone, your tablet. So this is actually what it'll look like. So you'll have this table loaded in here. And I think I go through some of this stuff in the lab, or we go through a lot of this stuff in the lab. But oh man, I did that really quick. So I'm like right clicking all this stuff. So rest is disabled. I can right click on this. I can go to open to look at the data, right? To look at the table. I could actually also drag this over here if I wanted to. So I just dragged the object, the table, and it gives me this little pop-up window. This is perfect for me because I don't know this stuff by memory. So then I can just run this and I can take a look at everything that's in there as well. So I guess this is more just like tricks. This isn't really in the lab, but if you were curious, but I'm totally diverting. In the lab, the next thing that we do is we scroll down to rest and then we enable it. And then this little slider window pops up. So I'm going to, for the purposes of lab, because this is very simple, I'm just going to keep the alias the same thing. You could name it so it's in line with whatever other naming conventions that you have, or maybe you wanted to like obscure what the target object was. Maybe you didn't want to expose that in the URI, because if you see it down here, it's in the URI. You could change it to like generic table, right?
We've got a question in the chat. Do you mind if I pipe in real quick?
Yep.
So someone's asking, hey, what does it mean to enable something? And so in this case, we're looking at a table, but we could be looking at a view, or we could be looking at a duality view if you're on 23C, or we could be looking at stored procedures, functions, or packages. And do the right click just to show the rest enable. Yeah, and click on that. And then go down to the bottom. Yeah, show code. Yeah. Okay. So the technology in the mid tier, like where the web server is, it's called Oracle REST Data Services, or ORDS. It's the thing doing that HTTP to SQL translation that Chris started us off with. I do a GET, but then at the end of the day, actual SQL statements are being run in the database. To do REST APIs in Oracle, one of your options is to use this auto REST feature. And so when I look at a table and I say enable, I'm saying make this table available to anyone that is properly authenticated and authorized to get, put, post, and delete on this endpoint, which at the end of the day runs queries on the table, changes rows in the table, add rows to the table, or delete rows to the table. And so then when Chris was saying, hey, maybe you want to obscure the object using that alias, that means I can change how the table is represented in the URI, we could call it, Chris, for example. So when I do a get on Chris, I, as an API consumer, have no idea that in a database somewhere, there's actually a table called CSV data. So it's sort of a security by obscurity feature. And actually, I would recommend you use the aliases, because most of your API consumers, they don't even need to know there's an Oracle database, much less know the names of the objects in the database. So when you enable something, you're saying, hey, let our technology give you APIs on these objects. And by default, they're known in the URIs as the name of the object, and you can change that name by using the alias. I know you needed some time there to let people catch up, so I gave the long answer. Sorry, Chris.
No, it's perfect. Somebody asked about ORDs running in the database or not. So let me show you. I can show you an example. Actually, this is actually perfect that I have this running, and move this out of the way. So off to the side here, remember how I said I have this in Podman? This is actually one of my blogs and one of the videos I kind of detailed. So I have an enterprise database 21.3, which is running in a Podman container right now. I have ORDs, which has been installed locally. Basically, ORDs lives on my computer. When I execute this ORDS serve command, it starts up this Java virtual machine, and all the configuration and all the binaries live on my computer, or live on my Mac. And so all that communication is, originates here, and then does well, there's some PL SQL procedures that we enable in the database also that that ORDS is trying to not necessarily connect to. This is like when you're setting all this stuff up. So you can actually see, like, if I go over here, I have this is my local host. I've already enabled this here. I can just show you really quick. We're not really going ahead. This is actually what we're about to do here. So for this next step, we were going to this get all here. We have these different options. So a command prompt, PowerShell, or Bash. For this, doesn't really matter too much, but I can do
everyone in Cloudland. You don't have to do any of this like local stuff. We're running it for you, but our technology you can run on premises in your own corporate database, in your Dockers on your laptop. And Chris is showing you both.
Yeah.
But if you're following the lab to the letter of the law, everything's in cloud, and the ORDS is there running in our cloud, and we're managing all of that for you. And you're just pointing and clicking and using the APIs. So you don't have to set up software, and you don't have to configure anything.
Actually, let me do this. I can do JSON. You can actually print the curl command in curl with this pipe. If you guys see this, you see this. I've already lost it.
Yeah, we see it. Your
okay.
curl request in the
So if you switch over to ORDS, this is ORDS running in standalone mode on this Jetty server here, right? Which is embedded in the product. You can actually see like the stuff that's happening. I wish I had like an error, because you'll actually get like an error code that will pop up, and you can kind of do some diagnosis here. But you can read through all this. You can see it all like kind of setting up as it's going. So I don't know if that helps out, but that's like the architecture behind it. All right, let me catch up on the cloud side here, and then I'll kind of run through this, because we actually just did this with the Podman version of this. So I've just REST enabled this. I've REST enabled this table, but it's basically like the oversimplification of this is like now I can navigate to like an IP address where this table data lives. So I'll go to curl command here. Again, we're just going to go to get all. You could get single, and then you could drill down by like row ID. And if you did that, you would just get the one value back, but we don't want to do that. So I left authentication on. That's why it's asking for the bearer token. Give me a second. If you caught that, then
We proved it's secure.
Good on you. I was like, why? I was like, why is this? What's going on here? Yeah, it's because I clicked that, so the curl commands were looking a little bit different. So don't be alarmed because it's not supposed to look like that. That's cleaner. So there's no authentication or anything in there. It's not asking for any like authorization tokens or anything like that. So yeah, we with this get all command, and then I showed you what that looked like in like if you were in your terminal, like in with a curl command, but you can actually just take this part right here and copy that, and then just go to a browser. And I'm on Firefox, so it does already kind of like print this stuff out, pretty print, you know. But you could just do the raw data, and you can look at some of the other information like headers. So yeah, so if we're on the same page, we should be at the end of lab 3. We just did that. All right, so let's go back over to lab 4. All right, so in this lab we have that table. We have that table. It's got what we say like seven rows of data in there, so pretty unremarkable, not too much. From object storage within OCI, we're going to pull down. I'll do all this in curl. We'll pull down a CSV which has like 2.1 million rows or something like that, and we'll use a batch load endpoint. We'll do the auto rest batch load endpoint, and within terminal or within your command prompt, we'll insert that data into our CSV table. And then we're going to work with some PL SQL procedure. We'll create a procedure, just real simple. I think it returns like the count of, or returns specific rows. If you input like a specific parameter, it'll return the rows satisfying that parameter. And then we'll simulate like a user action on that PL SQL procedure. So let me just go ahead and head over to lab 4. Again, you can expand all if you want to. And we did this in a weird kind of, not a weird way, but so there's a couple things. We want this, we want batch load, but we also, I would say do this, go to task 1, and then this like step 5, it's probably better to just download the CSV first. Okay. So you can see here, we're using this curl command. We're going to this object storage here, right? That URI, and then we're retrieving this CSV, and then you can decide where you want to save this. So like for me, if I do, I think I'm just in the main, just this main directory here, but you can cd to wherever you want, but you're going to take this curl command here. All right, copy that. And then we're just getting the CSV right now. We're not doing any batch loading yet. So you can put it into your
So dumb question, Chris, what's batch load? What does that mean?
Oh, I mean, you can do an update on like one row, for instance, like this put, right? Or you can do a batch load, which will take a large file like this of multiple rows and insert those all in one go, because that's like it's like analogous to when you have a get all and a get single. It's kind of like the reverse. If you want to like do a get request on your endpoint, you're going to get basically everything. I mean, I should qualify that. You're going to get the first 25 because ORDS automatically paginates 25. You can change that, but you're going to get everything, assuming your pagination is set to whatever. Now, if you want get single, it's the same thing. It's like you're just only getting one thing. How'd I do?
That was a perfect answer. And you said it faster than I would have said it. So.
Yeah, so that's what we've got there. So I'm over here. I think this is just going to overwrite this file because I already have it in here, but now I'm pulling this down from object storage. Now that I have that, we actually want to go to our batch load endpoint here because we're going to take that CSV and we're going to load that into our table using curl. So this is curl is pretty curl's pretty powerful, but it's also pretty like forgiving, right? So yours will look something like this if you are actually following along. But let me make sure I'm in the correct one here. Yeah, so I want this cloud one. So I'm going to go over here to rest, curl command. I'm gonna go to batch load. Again, make sure you're in the correct prompt. I'm gonna be doing bash over here. Oh.
If you guys and gals hate the command line, then you can use a GUI like Postman to do the same thing. You would just translate in the GUI what's being shown here in the curl. So you would be doing a post request to that URL. And in the body of the post, you would set the header content type. And then you would say, okay, the data being sent is this file. So you could point and click through that, but we don't assume people have Postman. So we always show everything in curl because that's the most ubiquitous.
There's actually, if you have Postman, it's actually probably easier because you can select from within whatever the folder is. So let's see, I think I have this now. So I can go back over to this and I'm gonna like clean this up so we can actually see all in one line. So I can get rid of the like these escapes for the new line, those slashes. And then here at file name, I'm gonna do what did I call it? Oh, 2m.csv. And then for content type, I want to change this to text/CSV. So let's look at this. So you actually don't need the location, but you can leave it in there. It's not going to do anything. You could take request out if you wanted to. Yeah, everything else looks good though. So yours should look something like that. And then it's a pretty big file. So, I mean, I say like it'll take forever, but if you've ever done anything like this, maybe this will be impressive for you. I don't know. I mean, if you've done batch uploads before, I mean, the cool thing is we're doing this all with a HTTP method or operation, you know, the batch load. And then while that's doing its thing, I can go back over. Just doing its thing. I wonder what happens if I do this, if it'll actually, if I can actually see anything. Oh, duh, there we go. So as I was refreshing, it was already kind of doing, it already kind of showed me this. So, you know what, I should have probably added in some more variables. Like you can do like write out as a popular curl variable. And within that, there's, I don't know, there's like 50 different parameters that you can set in there. So I think for this one, we have like total time. You can do like upload time, download time. You can do, you know, pretty much like
Curl has 10,000 parameters. We need a 2-hour live lab just to learn curl. But
verbose is a good one. I did that up here. You can see it gives you a bunch of information, but anyway, that's besides the point. So now we have this CSV in here. You can skip this because all this is just a SQL showing you like, wow, that's our count, you know, which you know that you just did that because you have that confirmation right here when you did that curl command. So you don't have to do that if you want to. I do want to try and get through this because for lab 5 and lab 6, we do cover this. So let me just try and get through as much as I can. I mean, we got 15 minutes left. So just take this as is, copy this, and then you're going to just go back over to your worksheet. And then just put it in your worksheet. So we're just going to create this procedure here. This is the part here that we're going to be using for when we do this simulation, but then also we can REST enable this here. Which, like, if we wanted to create our own API. All right, so now that that's created, the next thing that we do here is we basically are like simulating, like if I was like, you know, on a web app somewhere, and I just I had like a drop down menu and I just input A1. Basically what we're doing is we're saying, like, over HTTP, we're using that as a parameter, whether it's like a URL parameter or whether it's in like a header or something like that. And we're feeding that to our procedure. And then we should get back whatever the results of that return count are, which is going to be this stuff right here. So copy that, and then I'll head back over to, so 8204. So basically it says, like, in column 2, you can see that down. You can see that here. Column 2, give me the amount of rows where A1 is present. That's what we just did right there. So pretty unremarkable, but that is us setting this up for when we want to create our own REST API. So up to this point, you've seen how you can just do all right clicks and you can do auto REST. And through that auto REST, you're given the ability to get all of your information in JSON, get a single one, do a post of a single, do a batch load, and you have puts and deletes as well. Okay. So even just with simple right clicks, you have like a lot of capability, and you can obviously do that like authenticated or unauthenticated. Yeah, so let's do this. I'll try and get through as much as I can here. I mean, I'll leave like 5 minutes at the end if anybody has any questions, but we always miss out on the OAuth 2 stuff here. So unfortunately, like, we need to create these modules before we kind of really get into lab 6. So I'll just try and go through as much as I can here. So this is like it's like crawl, walk, run. So like auto REST would be like crawl and walk, you know. Now, if you wanted to run, like if you wanted to really get into creating your own REST APIs, there's a really easy way for us to do this. We can go back to our Launchpad. We can click on REST. This is called the REST workshop. Okay. And then we can create our module. So our module is basically like the home where, you know, all of our APIs are going to live, and you'll see how that works here in a second. So in the lab, we click create module, and then what do we call it? We call it this com.oracle.live.lab.api, right? So grab that, come over here with the module name. And then I think we kept the base path like this, API / we want that / because we're going to like add stuff to the end of that, you know, for our APIs. And I said that Oracle REST defaults to the pagination of 25, but you can set it here, you know, upwards of 1,000. Okay. We are going to leave this unprotected. So if anybody had this endpoint, they could access it. And then I don't know if I added comments. You can if you want to. Yeah. So that's it. And again, you can look at the code. You can see the code to see what the actual PL SQL procedure is. Because when you hit create, that's telling the client here, the browser, to execute that PL SQL. So Should be able to refresh. And my modules should be in there. I think it automatically takes you to the template. So now for here, we're modeling our template, and then all of our handler code. This might not make sense, but you'll see this here in a second. We're going to take this, create a template. Okay, so this right here, this is a very like Oracle. This is an Oracle REST. This is an Oracle REST syntax actually. So when ORDs, like say for instance, you are passing in an ID, like an ID would be like A1, like we saw before. If ORDs sees that, right? Do you guys see that URL right there? If ORDs sees all this stuff all the way up until SQL report / and then if it sees like an A1 after that /, it's going to recognize that as an ID, right? So under the covers, it's going to do all the heavy lifting for you. Okay, so we're just going to create that. And now we're going to create a handler. This is like where all of our code goes. And this is two things. This is where all of our code goes. And then this is the actual API with the get, post, put, and delete. So go back over to our workshop and we'll grab this code. The first thing that we have, I think, is just like really simple SQL. So yeah. So I think are we doing a count? Is this what this SQL is here? So copy that. And then we're just going to put this in here and we're going to do get. We do collection query because we don't just want a single item. We want like all the items that satisfy that condition there. And then we'll hit create. And
the collection says do the pagination, do the links for the next. If you say item, we'll just get the first row and stop. You'll see what it does if you do it wrong.
I clicked the little run button right here because we can actually kind of simulate what this would be like if you went to your browser and remove that ID and put in like a row ID. So if I hit OK, it will give me back, right, all the rows up to whatever our pagination was. Oh, you know what? No, here it doesn't do the pagination. So if I take this guy here, copy this, and go to the browser, right? If I do this, it's not going to give me anything. It's just going to give me these referential links, okay? But if I remove this, like I was talking about, and I add in A1, or it's just going to recognize that, and it's going to kind of impute. It's going to recognize that. It's going to return all those that satisfy A1. And here we do the pagination, right? Because that's what we had. That's what we set originally. Okay. So we're at task 2. And we're going to create another template here. We're going to call this biz logic. You guys see these breadcrumbs up here? You can use those to navigate forwards or backwards rather, because what I want to do is I want to create another template. So here, I'm going to create this template and I call it biz logic. And now I'm going to create the handler code, right? That's going to go in there. And this is, let me copy and paste it first, and then I'll explain here. And some of you are probably saying like, well, why are you doing a post? And that is a great question. Jeff, let me know if you think this is a good.
You write it on a Post-it note? Because that would have been funny. Why am I writing the jokes for you?
Let me, because you're a dad, you've got sweet dad puns.
You get to pick the handler that you want to use. Sometimes you'll hear people talk about friendly APIs or APIs being RESTful. A post indicates that your request isn't necessarily idempotent. Like it can have impact on the environment. Things can change from running it. Like it's not safe to run multiple times like a get would be. So if the biz logic that you're coding simply runs a select statement through a ref cursor, you could do that as a get and not feel guilty about it. But if your procedure also, for example, logged a record in an auditing table or changed anything in the database religiously along like the REST church, you should probably do that as a post. And if you're not sure if you should do a get or a post, it's safer to do a post. But you could make it a delete call and have the delete call actually insert a record or run queries. And, you know, that would be you building unfriendly APIs because you would be confusing the people using your APIs. So you'll have to learn HTTP, you have to learn REST APIs, you have to learn curl. Once you're up to speed on that and you're ready to build REST APIs on your database, it all comes down to what do you want to do in the database? And are you ready to write the SQL and PL SQL, or do you want to try the auto stuff? We're trying to do a little bit of all that teaching here today because we don't know where people are coming in. We don't know if you know curl. We don't know if you know REST.
So if you're following along, I'm in here, I'm in my handler code now, and I've selected post, and then I've just put this PL SQL here, and I've already created it. But because if you guys look at this right here, right, basically this is saying that we're going to require this input. Actually, if you take a look at the previous, thing that we just did, if we scroll up here, this is basically what we're about to do. So here ORDS recognizes that, and that's the bind parameter. So like when we pass that A1, it's already going to do all that stuff automatically. But because we're doing this a little bit differently, we have to identify what that bind parameter is. So after we create the procedure, right, can't really do much until we create this parameter. And this is where we are here. Okay. So you can just copy all this stuff. To keep it simple, we're creating the name, we're naming it the same thing, output. And then it's going to be an integer. So let me show you what that looks like. So parameter name is output. Output. And we're doing header and integer, and make sure I have it, that input is correct here. Parameter type is integer, access method, output. Source type is response. So I got that wrong.
Yeah. On auto, you don't make any of these choices. When you're building your own REST APIs, you're determining like what output comes back, what messages come back. You have full control, but you get to write a little bit of code.
Oh, and then I think this is what we do. We go back here to our biz logic template to get our curl command. And then which one do we do here? So I think we do A1. We give you the option to do whatever. Do we have? Oh, we check null. I went back too many screens, but we can still make this work. So here, copy. And I want to make sure that I'm copying this correctly. So if you do it wrong like me, you can just have empty quotes like this. So go back over here. Right, this is my curl command. So I'll zoom in on this so you can see this is the curl command that we just used here, right? To the resource or to this URI that we just created, and we passed in this data here, right? So we're saying this is for that procedure that we created. We want to pass that A1, And then because we did those bind parameters, basically like output is basically whatever the output is of, I didn't like that. I don't know where my, yeah, there's the output right there. So that's essentially what we just did. So we are, we're at task 3. So this open API view is just an FYI for you to be able to see, to be able to test some of the endpoints in the actual browser. But I would just skip to lab 6. That's where the, if you're doing this, I would skip to lab 6 so you can work on the OAuth 2 stuff. And we could end it there. We'll be in the chat and we can kind of talk in the chat and go over all that stuff in the chat. So yeah, but thanks everybody for joining, and I will end it here. Thank you, Tara. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Zach. And we will catch you guys online and catch you on the next webinar.